Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. The Rams, with their first selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, at 57 overall, the Rams took wide receiver Tutu Atwell from Louisville, and his real name is Chitarius Jr., actually. That's his dad's name as well. He did get the nickname of Tutu, and I'll be honest with you guys, I don't have any right now. Maybe we can get some. There's got to be some fantasy football team names that reside here, right? I mean, that's just kind of how this works, right? Like, we're clever enough as a people that we can come up with something good for Tutu. I mean, it's probably going to be a little bit corny and ballerina related. I mean, why not? His name is Tutu, you know what I mean? So, but his real name is Chitarius. Like I said, that's his father's name as well. So he is a junior. He's been called the Deshaun Jackson Jr. by Rams head coach Sean McVay. He plays very fast in space, but he also plays really well in tight spaces. So it was watching his stuff. It was kind of like, it's like, yeah, I mean, he plays great in space. He's got great vision when he's at full speed, and he's able to maneuver as he's still going full speed. But also when it's tight, he's able to use that vision as well and wiggle through. And I love it. I'm about it. I think Tutu is actually, I had mentioned Tutu, but I was actually on it was the Rough Cut Sportscast. If you guys haven't checked that out on YouTube, those guys are awesome. The Facebook is where they go live and stuff too. But the Rough Cut Sportscast, super cool dudes. They went to the same. They're going to the same school that I graduated from. So super awesome guys, and they are nailing this. They're gonna do very well. They're gonna do much better than me, and that's okay with me because I like to consume their content as well. But I was watching with them. I had mentioned Tutu's name in a comment, like as the Rams were about to come up, because I can't remember the offensive lineman that I had picked out that I thought that the Rams were going to go with. But I was like, hey, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see a wide receiver here. Tutu makes sense. There was a couple other names that I put out. It's like, these guys would make sense too. And they were like, nah, they're not going wide receiver, especially with their first pick. And then Tutu Atwell. I was like, yeah, well, I named him. So that's another win for the Joe Stradamus. But he, like I said, plays very well in space, but also plays very well in tight spaces. That's really cool to see. I think that he could be seen at kick returner and punt returner, depending on what Deshaun Jackson's role is going to be on this team this year. But what I love about Tutu in this sense specifically is how fast he decides which hole he wants to hit and goes north. All right. It's very minimal dancing, very not Tavon in the way that he does punt returns. He catches the ball. He might take a little bit of a step here, a little bit of a step there, but it's north after that. Not this dancing around. Let's go back a little bit. Let's cut it back around. Oh, this closed off. So let's try to make something happen. No, he kind of he'll catch the ball, he sees the field, and goes. And I love that. So for that reason, I really do think that he could be the Rams kick returner or punt returner this season. He's also, for his size, he also does a great job at avoiding the big hit. He's not a very big guy, but he does a great job at avoiding the big hit. And even when I've seen him get kind of blasted a little bit, he pops right back up. He's got that Jared Goff kind of, where he gets wrecked and just bounces back up. That's one thing I always loved about Jared too. But Tutu's that way, has been at Louisville at least, so hopefully that continues into the NFL. He reads blocks really well on jet sweeps as well, and I want to say, I don't actually know, but I want to say that this is a big reason that he actually became a Ram, and that Sean McVay was seeing what he was doing on those sweeps and those little, what was those little pop passes or whatever, like, that's not what it's called. What am I thinking of? It's like, the quarterback basically catches it and just like, drops it. I don't know why that's blanking on me, it doesn't matter. But he's got great vision on those, so he gets the ball, and then the way that he's able to kind of locate the corner and attack it, I like that. I like that ability to get around that corner. He's very, very fast on those, especially. I have his impact level a little bit lower than maybe some others do, and a big part of that is the Rams' depth chart at the wide receiver position. We know it. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson, and Van Jefferson. And so Tutu comes into that crew right there that also has guys like Simba, who are kind of in that same role as Tutu, but I would say Tutu's more talented. But I think I put his impact level at 6. I don't think he gets out there a lot. I don't know if we see him too much on offense. Van Jefferson is still talked up by guys like Sean McVay, but he didn't even get out there that much on offense. Of course, the Rams did have Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Josh Reynolds last year as well, but But Jefferson just didn't get out there. So Atwell, I'm not sure he's going to get out there that much either. And I think that his main role on this team this year would be possibly punt returner. And like I said, depending on what that Deshaun Jackson role is going to look like. For the 2022 season, I have his impact level jumping up just a little bit to 7. And that is because I think that we'll see this year, it's like, okay, no, this guy's actually pretty quick, and he moves real fast, and he can get this done. We need to put him out on offense. I think that's just kind of the path that happens with Tutu Atwell. And I think over time, I think he becomes more involved in the offense and becomes a bigger impact over time. But this year, I don't expect a huge showing by Tutu Atwell. Next pick here was the 103 overall selection, linebacker Ernest Jones out of South Carolina. Very high motor. That jumps off of the screen. If you guys are watching stuff like I am, and not just highlights, if you guys are just watching highlights, you're doing it wrong. You need to go watch teams. So type in Ernest Jones, no A, and just versus. And then you'll probably get a list of some games that he's played in where you can actually watch those. And like Tutu's got a bunch of good videos too, where it's like every snap. So not even when he was targeted, it was just his snaps. Every time he was out on the field, you can see him and what he does. And that's really where you're going to get the most information. If you guys are into that kind of thing. Otherwise, you can just listen to guys like me talk about it. But hey, very high motor that jumps off the screen. He looks like a Rams linebacker. And I literally wrote in parentheses here, whatever that means. Because I don't really know what that means. But even just his body type, he looks like he's built like Micah Kiser and Kenny Young and Troy Reader. Like, he just looks like a Rams linebacker to me. I don't know if that makes any sense. None at all. But I would say he likely rotates with those guys, with Mike Kiser, Troy Reader, and Kenny Young. I think he just kind of fits in, and we see him a little bit. We see him on the sideline a little bit. We probably see a lot more of Kiser and Young and Reader even. But I do think that Jones gets in that. I have his impact pretty low. I think we see him as a special teams guy mostly this season. So I have his impact level at a 4 for the 2021 season. But that's really because we've got that rotation going right now, and I don't think he gets out there. He's not like a full-time starter day one. So for the 2022 season, I've got his impact level at a 7. I think that this is a guy who can come in, and if he can keep that motor and keep progressing, I hate that we don't have Joe Barry to coach him up, but if he can keep that kind of energy going, I think he could unseat somebody like a Troy Reader or even a Kenny Young. Micah Kiser is in that too. I kind of have Kiser on this pedestal, I realize, but I like Kiser though. But yeah, I got him going from a 4 to a 7 over his year 1 to year 2. Next one here is going to be overall pick number 117, defensive tackle Bobby Brown III from Texas A&M. And if you guys watch this show pretty regularly, you guys will know that I am a Texas A&M fan. I am very open about the fact that these are the guys that I know most things about. I didn't even look up any of his stuff. I watched all of his games. I know Bobby Brown. All right. I know this guy. I've seen him play plenty of times. I like this guy a lot. And he's one of those players though, that all through college, well, I guess mainly these last 2 years, but he was getting doubled and tripled a lot because he was that dominant. So that bodes really well for him, because I think if he's coming from a situation from the SEC, where going against really, really good offensive linemen like Alabama's got and LSU's got, so he's going against really talented offensive lines and is getting doubled. You know, that tells me something good, and he is about ready to soak up everything he can from AD. He's been very open about that he is going to take in everything he can from Aaron Donald. So he's very, very talented, but raw. Okay, he's got a lot of work to do, but I think that he's in a good spot to be able to do it now. With some coaching and maybe some help from AD. Okay, I think he could. I think he's got the potential to be a very, very good defensive tackle in the NFL. If he stays focused, he can be very, very good at this game in the NFL, at the NFL level. He has had games where he's disappeared. It kind of feels a little schematic, but maybe it's not. Maybe there's just games where he was just having a rough time. You know what I mean? So that one I don't know, unfortunately. I don't know his personal life. I just see what he does on the football field every week. But yeah, he's had games where he disappeared. He's also, though, this is one thing that's been beneficial. He's a block eater. Like I said, he's getting doubled and tripled. That was opening some stuff up for some other guys out on the field. So This could be the new Brock. Maybe that's why he was brought here. Maybe he was that guy to eat the blockers, because that's what Michael Brockers did, was eat blockers. And he never really became a stat guy, but anybody who really pays attention and really was watching what Aaron Donald was doing and some of those edge rushers and stuff, like Michael Brockers was on purpose just sucking up blocks. Hey, and that's not something that gets you talked about by the fans, but that's something your coaches absolutely notice and get you paid. So for his impact level, because I have the Rams starters on the defensive line as Sebastian Joseph Day, A'Shawn Robinson, and Aaron Donald, I'm putting his impact level this year as a 6. I think what helps him is the fact that Brockers and Morgan Fox both left on the defensive line. So there is some openings there for him to get in on a rotation. But I think this guy is going to be very good, and I think that this guy is the one that possibly takes over that A'Shawn Robinson, and maybe A'Shawn is out. Maybe he's the odd man out after next year, so I've got his impact jumping up to 8. Next number on the list here is going to be 130 overall. That is cornerback Robert Rochelle out of Central Arkansas, which I don't even know if I knew existed before Mr. Rochelle was drafted by the LA Rams, but he's got all the building blocks, man. He's physical. He physical, man. That's really what I've noticed is his physicality. He's pretty aggressive. He plays the ball really well also. But another one is, like, I really wish we had Aubrey Pleasant to coach this guy, because if Aubrey Pleasant was here coaching this guy up, I would feel really good about it because of his play style. He's already said that he tries to model his game after Jalen Ramsey. So if we had a guy like Pleasant to refine that, oh man, that'd be super crispy. But unfortunately, Aubrey Pleasant is not here, and Rochelle will just have to he'll just have to watch Ramsey in practice. I guess that's okay, And we have good coaches anyway. Raheem Morris, I think, is going to be an underrated hire by the Rams. I think that's going to actually be, that could be pretty decent. So he is probably already our CB4, if not our CB3, over David Long even. So I think he's got the tools to be, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Williams, Rochelle, right there. I think it's very possible. So his impact level, I think that he does get a lot of playing time this year. I'm going to put him as an 8. And that's really because I think he's got the physical traits to get above David Long Jr. on the depth chart. And I'm keeping his impact level at 8 for the 2022 season because that's already pretty high. And I want to see what he does out there first. So, and of course, like, over time, we'll kind of see how this all unfolds. And trust me, guys, not all of my ratings are very high. We'll get to some that are pretty low and maybe a surprise to some people. But yeah, we'll get there. Next one here is going to be tight end / wide receiver, technically. Jacob Harris out of UCF was the 141st overall pick by your Los Angeles Rams. And he could play wide receiver, will most likely serve as a tight end under that Sean McVay offense. It just kind of fits in that way. He's got a very Tyler Higbee play style, but maybe a little bit more athletic. So I think that him, like, if they swapped jerseys, I don't know if we would know. You know what I mean? Like, if we had to just see them from afar and just see them play, they play very similar. Like, Tyler Higbee, years into the NFL, plays very much like Jacob Harris, first year in the NFL, only has played in college. You know what I mean? So, before college too, but that's his highest level so far is college at UCF. So this is actually my pick for Rams Rookie of the Year. I think that this guy has the ability to have not only a good amount of snaps in this Rams offense, but I think he has a pretty big impact on this Rams offense as well. He's my pick for Rams Rookie of the Year. I have his impact rating as an 8 and his 2022 rating as an 8 as well. And that's simply because I think he gets playing time. I think that this guy has more snaps than any other rookie that the Rams have taken this year. And for that reason, I think it's going to be mainly a default pick for Rookie of the Year. But I think he's going to kind of slip in a little bit to that Gerald Everett role a little bit. So I'm excited to see what Jacob Harris does. Kid's a baller. Kid loves football. And, hey, you can't go wrong with that usually, all right? Next one here is going to be an edge rusher, Ernest Brown the 4th, 174th overall pick. And this one, I like this pick, but I'm really, really curious to see him in preseason because he's pretty raw. He's got a very high motor, and he's got a very Leonard Floyd play style. I compared Jacob Harris to Tyler Higbee. Now I'm gonna compare Ernest Brown, our second Ernest and our second Brown. That's kind of weird, huh? But I'm going to compare his play style to that Leonard Floyd role that I think he could kind of develop into. And for Ernest Brown, I think he's got a real shot to become a bigger rotational guy, maybe more so than Ernest Jones. But I don't actually know that. I'm really pumped to see those two specifically in preseason. So, yeah, I'm excited for that. But he will disrupt the run plays and allow others to make the tackle. And that's one thing I like as well. Kind of that block eater kind of style. He'll just kind of come in and just crash run plays. He'll just, like, the play will start, and you see, typically if you're a linebacker in that spot and you see, like, all the offensive linemen shift this way, at you or something like that. It's like, hey, probably zone run. Just blow it up, And he's got the ability to do that, which I like a lot. And you see it many times in his snaps when you're watching his stuff. You see it a lot where he just lights it up. He's not necessarily hitting holes to just make the tackle. He's just eating blocks. He's just blowing up the run scheme, the assignments. He's just lighting them up and letting other people make plays. And hey, you can't go wrong with that, really. He reads the lines blocks really well. That's the comment that I made. He reads those blocks really well, and then he's able to attack, whether it's to eat that blocker or to make a move and get a tackle. So for his impact rating, because linebacker is a high rotational spot for the Rams, I have it at a 7. Next year, I put it at an 8 because I think that this guy has the high motor, much like Jones, where he could become a pretty hefty participant in this Rams defense. And honestly, having Jones and Brown, the fourth, come in, that's almost like, oh, okay, so Terrell Lewis may not be as good. You know what I mean? Like, we may think he's better than the coaches think he is, kind of thing. So we'll see how it unfolds. I know I say that line all the time, but we will see. Next one here is going to be running back Jake Funk out of Maryland at the 233rd overall selection. So the Rams got the Funk. His work ethic, I'm not going to make a bunch of Funk jokes, but there will be Funk jokes. I mean, if this guy makes the team, then, that also has to factor into fantasy football team names. It has to. But Jake Funk, work ethic, that's the very first thing that you can tell about this kid at all. And, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. It jumps out to you. When you hear him talk, when you watch him play, it's like, oh, this kid's one of those guys. He's a worker. If he wasn't playing football, he'd probably be, doing construction or other manly stuff. I don't know what men do. I don't know. But his work ethic is absolutely there. I'm not sure if it's the number 34 that he wears or that he wore at Maryland, but he's got mad Chase Reynolds vibes to me. But he's a little quicker, and I think he's a little bit more athletic than that Chase Reynolds guy was. He's cool, man. He actually signed this flag, the old snail. He signed that one somewhere on there. I got a bunch of good ones on that one. Jared Goff, Rob Havenstein, Robert Quinn, Paul McRoberts, the best. Anyway, but yeah, he looks like Chase Reynolds, but he looks like a more athletic version of Chase Reynolds. My money says 2 first down catches for Jake Funk from Johnny Hecker this season. That's going to be my guess, is that Hecker throws 2 fakes to Funk this year. Because we're hopefully, according to the words of Joe D, new special teams coordinator, the fakes are coming back. But the Funk likely caps at teams. And that's what we're calling him, by the way. I've decided, the Funk. I like the kid's work ethic. He can keep progressing if he's really got a chance to show what he's got. I think he's got that ability to maybe show out a little bit. And he's got the work ethic to be able to put it together and get it done. But I think he might cap at teams. I've got his impact level for this season at 3. I don't think he's going to get ahead of Cam Akers. I don't think he's going to get ahead of Darrell Henderson. So I think at best he could become RB3. And I think that really he's a special teams coordinator. I think we're going to see him blocking 4 punts, blocking 4 punt returns. I think we see him probably on the kick return team, probably on the kickoff team. That's, I think, where we see the Funk this year. And I've also got him as a 3 the next year. But ultimately, I'm not sure how long he makes it. Rooting for the kid because he's the work ethic. I respect the hell out of work ethic. There's too many lazy people in this world. And anybody who's willing to go bust their butt cheeks to get what they want has my respect right away. Next one here is going to be wide receiver Ben Skaronic, and that is the 249th overall selection. He feels like he caps out on teams as well. My guess is we see him on some jet sweeps in the preseason, and then he gets cut. It's nothing against this guy, but watching his stuff was nothing really jumps out on the screen. Kid's got a little bit of a fire. He's a little quick, but ultimately, and a big part of this is the fact that now we're looking at Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson, Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell. I think those 5 are really it. I think those are our guys right there. So I'm not sure if good old Skaronic, if he's got enough in him to unseat any of those guys. I'm not sure if we bring in 6, if we keep 6. Didn't last year. I think it was last year that we kept 7. So it's possible. But I've got his impact. To make this team, he may have to look better than Tutu and Van Jefferson. And is he even better than Simba? I'm not sure. We have to wait and see, of course, till preseason. I'm excited to see him out there, but ultimately I put his impact level for the 2021 season at a 1 because I don't think he's going to have a very high impact if he does make the team. And for the 2022 season, I did put him at 0. I don't think he's going to be here at least that long. I would say at most Ben Skaronic, I think at most he plays 1 season with the Rams and possibly practice squad. But that's where I see his cap at. Next one here is going to be linebacker Chris Garrett, the 252nd overall selection. And did you see what he did to the lower level? Which is where he came from. Yeah, he dominated it. And that's exactly what you want to see from a guy coming from the lower level, where he just makes the rest of those dudes look like they're playing high school ball out there. And he did that, man. This guy's, he's a pretty strong player, a pretty underrated player, in my opinion. I think small school stuff does hurt in some regards. But dude's got some skills, man. This is another one I put in all caps here. Why can't we have Joe Barry coaching this guy up, man? Man, I'm so stoked for Joe Barry being the defensive coordinator of the Packers now. But man, he's a good coach, and God, it sucks losing him at linebacker coach and Aubrey Pleasant as our corners coach. Man, it just hurts because those guys are such talented coaches. It's like it's one of those things where it's like, do we want to keep them at a low level just because we're kind of selfish, or we want to let them spread their wings and fly? You know what I mean? So letting them go, I think that's the right move, but it still sucks. But why can't we have him coaching this guy, man? I think Chris Garrett with a Joe Barry presence, I think that's gold right there. So it's unfortunate it's not going to happen. High motor, though, and if he makes the team, he could absolutely become a mid to late season impact player. I think that as the season goes on, that's when we could see him. Probably around the week 13 mark, I think, is when we would start seeing Chris Garrett, if he can make this roster, which I think he can. But also the Rams, they have a lot of linebackers, so it's going to be tough to make that squad, but it's a lot of linebackers, but it's not a lot of just like superstar linebackers. It's a lot of good linebackers, but if you're really talented, you could beat those guys out. So we'll see what he does in this preseason for sure, and then the coaches will be seeing him all season as well. He looks like a guy who could actually bump down Lawler and Lewis if he takes advantage of his positioning right now, which is on a sick defense, but is missing a dope edge rusher opposite of Leonard Floyd. So how many noodles do we have to whip at this wall until one of these sticks? All right, so obviously we got Ernest Jones, we got Ernest Brown, we got the Ernests, and now we got Chris Garrett as well. And then of course Terrell Lewis, Obadiah Okoronkwo. These are all very good players, but how good? And are any of these guys going to rise above that? You know what I mean? Like, we're whipping the noodles at these walls. One of them's got to stick, right? That's what, 5 guys that I just named? Yes, 5 guys. I'm very good at counting. And one of those guys has to be somewhat of a starter, right? I mean, it's got to happen. So for Chris Garrett, I have his impact rating. For this season, I put it at a 5. And I wanted to go middle of the road here because I really don't know what to expect from Chris Garrett, but everything I've seen from him, everything I've heard about him, is Rams kind of stole this guy a little bit here at the back end of the draft. I mean, 252. We're very close to the end, but it's the vibe is that we kind of stole him a little bit. So that's good stuff. But I put him at a 5 because, you know, he's a low pick, and who knows what kind of impact he'll get. Who knows what kind of playing time this guy's going to get. That's a big thing right now. So, and then also for the 2022 season, I bumped him up to an 8 because I think that if this guy can progress and use that high motor, and you know, if he can, you know, get ahead of guys like, you know, Terrell Lewis and possibly Obo, possibly Brown and Jones, who were just selected before him, because your draft positioning does not guarantee crap on the depth chart. Just because you were drafted high does not mean you start now. You know what I mean? I like the way that the Rams do that. You know, just because you were our first pick in this class does not mean you're out there right away. That doesn't mean that. And also, I mean, this was kind of a depth draft for the Rams, and I think that they kind of hit those spots really well. I mean, you pick up a tight end to play behind Higbee. We lost Everett. You pick up a corner. We lost, you know, Troy Hill. So you got a guy that can play in that position who models his game after Jalen Ramsey. You get a defensive tackle after you lose Michael Brockers and Morgan Fox. You get outside linebackers, a spot that you've kind of struggled with the last couple of years. Wide receiver, we didn't need any of those, but we took a bunch. Jacob Harris, we'll count that, but you know, and then Skaronic as well. So a big part of that Skaronic stuff, because I don't just want to bash the kid. That's not the goal at all. But a big part of that is I truly just think that I truly think that he's just hitting a very saturated market as an LA Rams wide receiver, and I don't think he makes the team. All right, guys, that is it for this clip. But if you would like to see the entire thing, you're going to want to hit just over here. But if you have not yet, I need you to subscribe. That's on this side. Peace! Go Rams!